This image was generated by an open source AI model running live right now. On a completely free hardware, no API keys, no subscription, and no GPU of my own, just a browser tab. And in about 15 minutes, I'm going to show you how to exactly do this yourself. And more importantly, how to turn this into a REST API, which you can then plug in into any of your projects. Because here's the thing, most tutorials show you how to use AI, but this one here shows you how to run them. There's a massive difference. When you run the model yourself, you control it. You can expose it as an API. You can integrate it into your app. You can customize it. You can extend it and do all of this without paying a single dollar in API cost. And yes, we are going to talk about the models that tend to work, because that is actually the most useful part any developer would love watching. Now, think of HuggingFace as the GitHub of AI. It's where researchers and companies publish their models. Everything from image generators to language models to speech recognition. Around 3 million models are hosted right now on HuggingFace, most of them free to download and use. Now, HuggingFace has something called as Spaces. These are basically hosted demo apps built on top of models. Someone takes a model, wraps it up in a Gradio or Streamlit UI, and HuggingFace hosts it for you. You can go to the space URL and just use the model in your browser. No setup and no code. But here is where it gets interesting for developers. Spaces on free tier run on shared CPU hardware. That means slower interfaces, sometimes even more than 1 minute. And critically, you can't call Space as an API in any reliable way. There is no guaranteed uptime, no SLA, and no control over the runtime. If the space goes to sleep, your app breaks. And there is another problem. A lot of what you will find on Spaces isn't actually a model at all. It is just a demo app wrapping someone else's model. We hit this ourselves while researching this video, but more on this later. Google Colab is a free hosted Jupyter notebook environment. You write Python in your browser and it runs on Google's server. The key thing for us is the free tier that gives you access to an NVIDIA T4 GPU with 15 gigs of VRAM for free, no credit card. The real power of Colab for a developer isn't just running the model. In fact, it is that you can expose the model as a proper REST API using FastAPI and ngrok. And all of a sudden, you have a real endpoint that you can call from your React app or from your mobile app, from anywhere. And that is what we are going to build today. So ngrok creates a secure tunnel from the Colab machine to a public URL. So your model running on Google's GPU becomes callable from anywhere in the world with a single post request. So the model that we are using today is Stable Diffusion XL Base 1 by StableDiffusion. This is one of the most well-known image generations models in the world. It generates 1024 by 1024 images. It uses a dual text encoder architecture for much better prompt understanding. And most importantly, it fits into our free T4 GPU. So now it's time to actually test this model on Google Colab. Now, in order to test it, so I've already built a notebook for you. I'll pin it in the description. You can download the notebook from there. Now, once you have downloaded it, just open Google Colab, go to Files and just click on Open Notebook, and from there you will be able to upload a notebook of your choice. So I already have this opened over here. Now, first thing first, you will need an authentication token from HuggingFace. Now, in order to get that, you will have to come to this huggingface.co settings token website. This URL will be mentioned in the notebook. Hit that, and from there you can generate a new token. The steps are pretty straightforward and it is all mentioned over there. Copy it over there and then come to this secret section, hit this key button, and over here paste that HF token over here. Okay, so you won't see it either in the secret section, and even if you share this notebook to someone else, the notebook itself will not disclose your HuggingFace authentication token. So once you have done that, head over to ngrok, look for authentication with ngrok. You will have to create an account for yourself. I have created a free account myself. Log in into your account, and over here you will see your auth token option over here. Now just copy this, come back to your Google Colab, and then paste your ngrok token over here. Okay, so we will need this HF token, and then we will also need the ngrok token, and I'll explain you why do we need the ngrok token also. Cool. Now, once you have got all this set up, close it. Just remember to come to this connect T4 option over here. You might not see T4, you might see something else. So just come down to this menu over here and choose change your runtime type. And over here, choose T4 GPU. So when you first open it, you might see CPU being selected over here. Just don't forget to choose T4 GPU over here and hit save. Now I've already done that, so I'm not going to do it again. Once this is all set up, you can just hit run all, or you will execute all these cells yourself. So I'm going to hit run all, and this will start executing each of my notebook cells one by one. So the first one is executing, and we see a little animation happening over here, and pretty soon we'll see that it is now able to authenticate from Hugging Face. So it says logged in into Hugging Face, have faster downloads enabled. So once you authenticate using Hugging Face, all the dependencies and all the models that we'll be downloading in this notebook will happen pretty fast. Now, once this is running, you can click on this RAM disk option over here, and we can see the real-time RAM and the GPU usage, that the machine that is actually running this on Google servers, what are their consumptions. We can see it over here. Cool. So now the main thing is happening, the load SDXL or the model's base pipeline. Now this is going to load the model. It is going to build a pipeline, build out your safe tensors and everything else. So this step might take a little time. And while it is running, we will very soon be able to also see the output and also see the increase in consumption of system RAM, disk, and the GPU. So you see it is a 7.11 GB model, out of which this many bytes or this many MBs have already been downloaded, and we will gradually see that our disk usage has started to increase. Now this might take a little time. Okay, now if you see that the system RAM usage has started to increase. Also, there is a slight increase in the disk usage if you see over here. All right, so we are already 61% done with the download of the model, and the reason it is running at this speed is because we have authenticated with Hugging Face. I understand this is slow, but because we are on a free tier of Google Colab, even this speed is much better. All right, so we are almost kind of done with the download. The download is complete now, and it is now loading the weights of the tensors. Okay, so this step is pretty much done. Just a couple of finishing tasks, I believe, are left over. So this step is still running. Okay, so this is done. The VRAM use is 7.1 GBs. So we see that the GPU usage has increased over here, but it is well within the limits. Now it is running the core inference. That also is done, and we would see that we also did a quick test, and we tried to generate this image with this prompt, and it was able to seed that, or generate that image, and it has already been saved at this path. So this path is somewhere on the Google server. We can't really access it, but this is the most important part. Now, whatever we have deployed, whatever model we have deployed, that will be live for use now. Okay, so now we have got this public URL on Gradio that we can actually access. So once I hit it, we see that our model is now live. So now we can give it a prompt, and it is going to generate that image for me. So I also have a prompt for this. I will again put that entire PDF into the description. You can hit the link, download it from there. It's completely free. If you want, you can buy me a cup of coffee, but otherwise it is completely free. On that note, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And this is the full prompt that I'm going to give it, and it's going to generate the image for me. So while this is running, let me tell you that this is not using any of your money. It is running completely free on a Google server, and this is what we get. Now, this prompt is very similar to one of the prompts that I use in one of my other videos that was generating, where we generated a similar image, and then from this image we generated a complete video using Google Flow. I'll pin that video in the description. You can watch it. Okay, so this is the prompt that we got. This is the image that we got. Now, here are a couple of things that we should make a note of. If you like this image, you can copy this seed over here, and then over here you can paste it, change your prompt, and then generate a different version of the image. However, if you didn't like it, you can remove this prompt, add a -1 over here so that it does not remembers what image you are talking about, and hit generate again, or maybe change some settings over here. So I want to increase the guided scale to, let's say, 8.5, and then I'm going to generate the image, and this time it is going to give me a different image now. So let's have a look. Alright, so this time this is even a better image. We increased the guidance scale and we got a better image. Okay, so this is everything over here is happening free on your browser tab in around 30 seconds. Now you can download this image, tweak it furthermore and whatnot. Okay, so one last thing. Now, this is the part that makes it actually more useful for developers. Now, what if we could turn this model into a fast API or a REST API endpoint? So, section 3.2 of this notebook actually converts this model and opens up a REST API endpoint for you. If we go further down, we will see a Swagger API endpoint that we could test directly on the Swagger. Now, if I enter the same prompt over here, just say try it out, and over here just enter the same prompt and you would see a base 64 encoded string for your image. Now you can convert that into a proper image using any of the open tools, or you can yourself build a React app with just 10 lines of code. That too is mentioned here in the notebook, calling the API from your project. So that is all it takes to integrate a state-of-the-art model right into your project, right into your React app. The response again will come back as a base 64 PNG. Just wrap that in an image tag and you are good to go. No API key rotation, no usage limits, and no cost per image. And this is the same pattern that works across any model on Hugging Face. Text generation, speech synthesis, OCR, translation, object detection. Just load the model, wrap it in a fast API, expose it through ngrok, call it from anywhere, the code barely changes. So, what did we build today? We took a 3.5 billion parameters AI model, loaded it onto a free GPU, gave it a browser UI and a public URL, and exposed it as a production style REST API, all for $0. The notebook is in the description. Prompt that generated that image is in the description. Everything you need to follow along is there. Now here is your challenge. Take this notebook, swap out the model with something else on Hugging Face and drop your results in the comment. I would love to see what you have built. In the next video, we take this further. We fine-tune SDXL on a custom dataset so the model learns a specific style or character. If you want to see that, please subscribe and I'll see you there. Until then, you have a good time.